I'm Charles Ludlow. In this video, I'll be showing you how we're going to make our Windows 10 base image that we'll use for simulating Windows 10 clients on our network. To get started, I'm going to create a new virtual machine. Now, I should note that most of what you're about to see is relatively similar to what we saw in the last video on Windows Server. So feel free to skip this if you don't need a Windows 10 client or if you have already created one. x64, and again, I will date stamp my image. Perfect. That looks pretty descriptive. Now I'm using the Windows 10 Enterprise LTSC image. It is what I run in production, and so it is the image that I'm going to be using here. We'll connect to our LAN network. And I, again, am going to give it 256 gigabytes. And this time we'll select our Windows 10 Enterprise LTSC 2021 image. As of the time of recording this video, Windows 11 LTSC is not yet available in MSDN, so I am not going to be showing it off here. However, I'll probably make a future video as I know some of the steps will change once that has been released. I always disable time synchronization, and the reason for this is that we want our machines to be getting their time from their domain controller, not from this Hyper-V server. Even though it should hypothetically be the same, it's been known to cause loops, especially when DCs are doing time sync, so that's why I always turn off time sync. Otherwise, we are good to go there. And we will connect and proceed with the Windows 10 Enterprise installation. Next, install now. Pretty much the same process here, although I do believe we get a choice on which version we want to install, so I'm going to keep going here. All right, simple thing here. Enterprise N doesn't contain any media components, and Enterprise contains them. I don't use Enterprise N. I always just use Enterprise LTSC, but totally up to you how you want to proceed there. So we're just going to go with the Enterprise LTSC image. Yep. And perfect. All right, we will let it install, and I will be back with you once that installation has been completed. All right. Now on the client side, we are actually treated to the region thing. Again, you do not want to press any options here other than Control-Shift F3. Once again, the system will automatically reboot into Windows 10 and will be logged in with the built-in administrator account. Doesn't really matter what you say there because once again, it's not going to remember. So now when we go to control panel, we're going to have to fix that DNS thing. We will get around to fixing that later permanently. But for now, the easiest way to do that, I always disable IPv6 in my labs. If you're using it, you might not want to do that. And we'll assign it Cloudflare DNS. All right, now that we are on the internet, Windows 10, unlike Windows Server, will immediately go out and get updates, regardless of what you tell it. So, only thing I disable here is I just disable the Windows security notification thing. It'll eventually tell you, oh, you have to sign into your Microsoft account to be more secure. I don't want to do that, so it hasn't gone out and gotten updates yet. Oh well, we'll go ahead and let it do that now. So that's one thing we do change, or I do change as I like to do it. Delivery optimization is on by default. I don't like that. I want it to get its updates directly from Microsoft. I don't think there are any known vulnerabilities with delivery optimization as of the time I am filming this video, but I know that it is hypothetically possible. We're also going to go ahead and fix our clock here. There we go. Now our clock is correctly set. But since it could hypothetically be done, yeah, I'm gonna do that. Now, Edge is actually a lot easier Both Edge and IE actually come out a lot easier on this version of Windows than they did on server. Oh, and it was bugging out there, but there we go. Edge can actually be natively uninstalled with no changes. I also do not use Edge for client operating systems if I can avoid it. It's, again, filled with ads as I demonstrated in my previous video, and I think that's just a much too easy way to get infected. We are also going to request .NET. We are going to disable IE11. And again, that is entirely environment dependent, right? Because if you if you want that, then you can leave it in. But for me, I don't have any applications that need it, so there's no reason to keep it in. I'm going to go ahead and pause the video and allow Windows to fully patch itself here, and then I will go on and show you the other customizations that I make on my Windows 10 clients. And we're back. As you can see, everything has changed to pending restart. It is a good idea just to let it finish and then restart it. I find that it's more successful that way. We'll go ahead and reboot it now and allow it to come back up. And since it did complete all those installs, it should just come right back up just like a normal reboot. Oh, it's decided to do more updates. Yay, Windows 10 updates. That actually wasn't too bad though, honestly. That was a little bit faster than I thought it was going to be. Alright, so now that we are logged back in, you will see this little edge thingy sticks around. It eventually goes away on its own. I'm not really sure what causes it to be there, but it does, in my experience, go away most of the time. Now, it is a client, so we are going to need to install a browser this time. Now, I use Chrome Enterprise in general. Um, I know there are some security concerns about Chrome, or not so much security concerns, but privacy concerns. But in the enterprise, I find Chrome just works, and so that's what I use. So similar to the last video, since we have removed the web browsers from the operating system, we are going to create a new one, a new our little ISO file here to take care of that problem for us. Okay, so we've got Chrome and we've got 7-zip and Notepad. I also installed this on my client operating systems as well. Um, it makes it so much easier. You know, if you have to go find logs or whatever. UDF is fine, and I'll just call this 7-zip dash notepad plus plus dash Chrome. Perfect. Okay, and now we can save this as an ISO file out in our ISOs directory. And same kind of thing, we'll just allow it to complete the operation, and that's all we need from image burn. Since we won't need anything else in the install disk, we can go ahead and do this. Now, one thing I realized earlier was I think I might have forgotten to check this box here, because I noticed that it did not install the .NET 3.5 cumulative update, but maybe that was just Windows 10 being Windows 10. Nope, I failed to check that box. That's my fault. We'll let it download those files. Now this download almost always succeeds. I still do sometimes have some weird, strange issues with getting 3.5 loaded. Um, for me, most of my clients have an application that uses 3.5, but that may not be something you need in your environment. But I just like to load it. It doesn't really cause too much bloat to the image, and I'd rather have it so that a client doesn't have to go through any trouble later on down the line. And even though this is a lab, I do try to, as much as I can, simulate how I would build my client environments out. This install usually doesn't take too long either. Okay, and it has completed those changes. Alright, so at this point we'll install Google Chrome. I do use the one out of the bundle. I always download the bundle in new environments that I'm building out or updated environments, just because then you get the Chrome Enterprise Offline installer and you get the ADX files, which I'll show you later in another video how I take advantage of those for the management of the Chrome browser. Get our two utility tools installed, and otherwise that's pretty much it. Now, there is another piece of software that I will sometimes install in my environments, and that is the Start is Back or Start All Back for Windows 11. That's completely up to you. I like it because it respects Windows 7 GPOs, and so you can get these really neat, like all of this here is controlled by a GPO. I don't have to manually configure it every time. It just automatically does what it needs to do because I have set up GPOs for the program. So I think it's really nice. Since this is just a lab and I don't want to chew up some of my activations, I'm not going to bother installing it here. Alrighty, so that's, yeah. We are actually going to we're going to install one more piece of software, but I got to get the download for that. All right. And this only applies to Windows 10 in general. I suppose you could do it on the server side as well. Oh, and is it going to take it? It is going to take it. I will be leaving a link to this fix down in the description, but I find this to be very... Oh, and I didn't even click it. There we go. That just gets Windows Photo Viewer back. Oh, and we'll have to delete that file now, because otherwise it's going to show up again. So now they can open photos with the built-in photo viewer. Again, this is really an LTSC only deal because even though you could do it to Windows 10, regular Windows 10 comes with a bunch of built-in apps. You may notice we're lacking in the built-in apps category. So, yep, just a quick little fix there, totally optional, up to you. And from there, we actually are going to have to run Windows Update one more time. This is kind of my fault because I forgot to install um, .NET 3 the first time around. So I'm just going to let it update one more time to get that .NET 3.5, I believe it is, cumulative update, and then we'll be back. Alrighty, that time we got the right deal there. We got 3.5 in there. So now we'll just restart one more time here to get those updates finished applying, and then we can save the image. There's a lot of customization that can be done here, especially with the client operating systems. That's not really the goal of this. Um, it kind of depends on the situation for me, and there's kind of a thing where some people believe in doing it as part of the, SCCM or, well, whatever they call it now, Endpoint Configuration Manager deployment. And some people believe in building the images. I still build them the old-fashioned way because it just works. Um, but it depends a lot. But you can install things like Microsoft Office and, kind of pretty much whatever you want. You just don't want to activate anything until after it makes it onto the final machine. It looks like this is going to take a few more minutes, so I'm going to go ahead and just pause it and come back when it is done. All right, and it has come back up successfully. Last thing we're going to do here, just go into the control panel. Oh, it's being a little picky. Let's go into the control panel and go ahead and just remove that DNS server definition there. Get that out of there. Perfect. And we will generalize, shut down, exact same procedure. I did in my last video on Server 2022. It'll basically just generalize the machine, put it back in its box mostly. And I'll come back once that has shut down. All right, it's shut down. Same procedure as last time. We're going to delete the VM. Come here to our VHD section. Whenever Windows feels like loading that up for me. Oh my, oh my. Oh, never mind, it's over here. Okay, there it is, perfect. And we'll rename this to be our base image. And we'll need a copy of that. And same thing, whoopsies, not that one. New virtual hard disk, differencing. That there, we'll call this one the child one. There's the parent. And there we go. We now have a base Windows 10 image and a base Server 2022 image. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.